If you're running a marketing agency and it feels more like a lifestyle, in fact, maybe even a comfortable lifestyle, watch today's video because scaling isn't your problem at that point. It's the systems you have.
I was doing everything. I'm sitting in every seat in the bus. I'm the driver too. I didn't have really any procedures or policies kind of in place because if it was just me and some 1099 people occasionally. So had to really not go back to the drawing board, but start a completely new plan.
Today, you're going to hear how one agency owner rebuilt his business in the last 9 months and started replacing all the chaos with workflows, SOPs, and a real operating machine. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of From Grind to Gold. And I've got an amazing guest today, Michael Hutchinson of Directing Design. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, Tony. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to a great conversation today.
Tell me a little bit about, how you got started in the agency game and what drove you to it.
So I started my agency in 2000, really, as a lifestyle company. I didn't know what a lifestyle company was then or why you would build a company like that. But the main reasons being that I was a father and the corporate environment didn't give me a great deal of time to spend time with my son, to pick him up from school, to be kind of an active father. It also didn't give me a creative outlet that I wanted. So I thought, well, I'll start this company. I did a little bit of teaching on the side and started to grow the company so that I could transition full time to doing something that gave me the options that I wanted and I actually enjoyed to do.
I think you might be one of the only people that I've talked to or worked with that did that intentionally. A lifestyle business isn't like, hey, let's go grow it. Let's go scale it. Let's go, it's, I'm making the money I need to make. I have the lifestyle that I need to have. And that, by the way, that I think more than ever, wouldn't you say that that's possible these days?
Yeah. And I didn't think of it that way. I just thought there was some things going on in my life. Most of the major areas of my life were not bringing me satisfaction or joy in any way. I was quite homesick because I'd moved from the UK. I was probably a little depressed, and I thought, stop moping about these things, make some changes. Like, what can you do to pursue your own fulfillment and your own happiness? And one of the first things was that I was not happy in my career. So I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know where the opportunities were going to be. I just thought, well, I'll try doing some of these things that I'm good at and I like, and we'll see what happens.
Right. So now, fast forward, now, where are you at now with your agency?
I mean, it's been a long time. The lifestyle company has been there for a long time, and I reached a certain point, and it's comfortable. I'm not going to lie. It was I could carry on at that level for indefinitely until retirement. But when my son moved out, and I thought, lots of people talk to me about the things that I could achieve if I was to dedicate the time. And I thought, that's interesting. Like, what do I want to achieve? What could I achieve with a company? And I knew that it wasn't at a place that I could sell. But I had to decide, well, at that time, I did have, we talk about freedom. I did have some freedom because I'd got it to the point that I could have a lifestyle at so many hours a week, so it was like, well, do I break out of that? I know I'm going to have to work more hours again, because in the beginning I did, it was, ramping it up. I was working lots and lots of hours, and I kind of got to a plateau, and I was like, this is pretty nice, but I want to take things to the next level. So that's what I've been doing for about the last 9 months, really working on what does the next level look like and how do I get there?
And what are some of those changes that you've made in that 9 months that are different from, the past?
I'm grinning because how long have you got? So when you and I started talking, I was doing everything, so I'm driving every seat. I'm sitting in every seat in the bus. I'm the driver too. I didn't have really any procedures or policies kind of in place because if it was just me and some 1099 people occasionally, I didn't really need them. So had to really not go back to the drawing board, but start a completely new plan. And so that completely new plan has a lot of moving parts. And as you and I have talked about before, some of those parts are quite experimental. So we're trying things. There's some things that they just have to be there. And then there's some things that you're like, well, let's try this and go down this path and see kind of what results from these efforts. So, yeah, lots and lots of changes, from systemizing books, proposals, looking at profit and loss, our marketing procedures, our sales procedures, different systems. So it's a lot.
You took the Archetype questionnaire, and yours came out as the creative wizard.
Okay.
And there's 5 of those archetypes. Okay. And the creative wizard, one of the things that happens is our identity traps us in cycles. So if we get to a point in our agency as an owner where we're feeling like, and we've all been there, where you're feeling like, man, things just are not moving. What I tend to do, what I learned over the years, and I kind of just stumbled into this. I really didn't like set out to discover this, but then I did some research and I'm like, oh, our identity, it kind of creates a ceiling for the agency. So for example, if your identity didn't let you have other people come in and help and manage accounts and manage the work that you had been doing, you would be trapped there without like, how do you scale and do that? So it seems like a simple thing, but in your case, your identity trap is, if I'm not creating, I'm trapped. Like, so when you get, stress and anxiety, my bet is you start creating things, and you're very creative. That's the other side of it. If ever I have a question or a thought about, like, Michael, I'm toying with this idea, I need somebody to help me come up with a system or a process or a campaign or an idea, like, you're definitely the guy that people need to go to. And I know some of the stories you've told me about the clients that you work with and how what you've done with them, and even what you're about ready to roll out or have already rolled out in your agency. It is a testament to that. And every owner has this little identity. I'd say there's 5 of them. Maybe there's more, but it's just kind of my way of getting handles on, whenever things feel stuck as an agency owner, I always look inward. A lot of people will look outward, but I always look inward. And that's kind of served me over the years. But given that, talk to people a little bit about what you're rolling out. Now, the audience for this is mostly agency owners, but so this may be one of those ideas that they take and run with on their own. But what have you decided to do as of late?
So from the agency perspective, when I have creative ideas, and lately they're to do with systems, I like building systems and I like seeing how they can improve workflow or improve some sort of process. As an agency owner, you can use your agency as the guinea pig. So when I was thinking about systems that could be valuable to clients and thinking about the pain points that our ideal client profile might encounter, I thought, well, let's create some sort of a system for some of our workflows. And going back to what we previously talked about, all the changes that I had to go through, I've got a new proposal platform, I've got new presentation platforms, I've got all these different new platforms, and they're all doing different things, but they're all separate. And I thought, well, how can I scale? So as an agency owner, and other agency owners will be thinking about this too, how can I scale something that's so complicated? Like, everything that we were doing was so customizable and so many moving parts. So I started with a system about onboarding. So onboarding, in what is the process for the onboarding? We've got to take some some information from the client. We've got to get a payment authorization form from the client. At what steps should these things happen? And then also, while you're nurturing leads, what should happen with these leads if they don't show to an appointment, or, various different things. So I was working through kind of the client journey, and then how we deal with the client when they're being onboarded. So really what that did was it opened my mind to, well, what's the capabilities of the platform that we're using, and what systems can we build? And then I started thinking about some of our clients, and I'm talking to them now about, how a system could drive their workflow or impact their processes in some way. So I'm very excited about it. It's kind of early days, but I can see the power of creating these workflows.
So what you're saying is you started thinking about not just marketing, like, hey, let's run this campaign, but more about the system that supports the process of generating leads, following up with sales. And you started with your agency first. Is that what you're saying? So, you start with your agency first, say, oh, this is what we need to build. Let's build it for ourselves. And oh, by the way, it's also a version of what we're building for clients.
Exactly. And then as you're thinking through the process, you have some light bulbs go off with regard to the client base that you already have, or prospecting, because you're thinking, well, what conversations am I going to have? What's valuable to people? And in our niche, which is construction, I realized that they didn't want to hear about SEO or pay-per-click or online press releases or whatever. All they wanted to know was, well, can you get new jobs? Can you get new clients? Is that person nurtured? Do you protect our culture? Where is all this stuff trackable? So then, okay, that's one aspect of the system. And then what's another aspect? Well, what happens when a client comes on board? Is there a document that you always send them? Let's set that up. Do you need to ask a series of questions? Let's set that up. Is the question scored in some way? Like, it's a new roof. Like, how much damage have you got on your roof? How's it scored? Oh, your roof is disastrous. It's going to cave in, or you've got a pretty good roof. So there's all these kind of things that you can build into a workflow, and you can have multiple workflows for multiple processes. So you have a starting point, and then from there you just go, oh, well, we could do something for this too, and we could do something for this too. And it's all in one manageable place.
That's amazing, because if, I've always said, one of my other partners says, you sink to the level of the systems you have, right? That's where it all, it's like gold to the bottom of the sluice box. It's heavier than everything else. And it just, so everybody is only as good as their worst system.
Yeah.
And then there's a system, and we're not talking about software here. We're talking about, there is, that software is a tool, but we're talking about kind of the process that is repeatable over and over and over again.
Yeah.
When you talk about systems. Go ahead.
A big part of my thinking was inspired by the conversations that we've had about growth, scalability, and maintaining that kind of growth. And through this journey, I started talking to some really big hitters in the construction industry, like big custom builders, roofing companies. And there was one thing that they all had in common to get past a certain level of revenue, and that was standard operating procedures and systems. They were like, you have to have systems to get from here to here, because otherwise it's chaos. It's just, you can't control chaos to leverage getting past $10 million or $20 million.
Hey, thank you for watching today's video. Wanted to take a little break here and ask you something. If you are a marketing agency owner and you're feeling successful about what you're doing in your agency, you're making money, things are going well, but you feel a little bit trapped and you're kind of searching for that next thing, that next big thing to solve, I just encourage you to stop for a second. And before you decide what to do next, learn your agency owner archetype. It's free. It teaches you about your personality and your identity, and why your identity keeps you in a loop of making the same move over and over again, and makes it so that you and your agency are kind of stuck in the same place. Anyway, it's a great report. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Get your agency owner archetype today, and thanks for watching. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what you're looking for in the next 3 years. What's Michael's life? What do you want your life to be like? How do you imagine it?
I always have a conflict between living here in the US and living in the UK. And I have family in the UK, and I love the lifestyle in the UK. But I think if I had let's say a 3-year plan, I would love to have a property in the UK and live there at least half of my time, maybe pick the seasons that are really bad in Oklahoma and go to the UK.
Well, you're already kind of doing that, right?
A little bit, yeah. But it's usually, I think the longest time I've gone for was 3 months, and that was to look at the mortgage structure there, like how I could buy a property, could I buy a property? And then there was sort of some disappointment in that process, just based on how my finances are set up here in the US and trying to get a mortgage in the UK. And I just thought, well, that's really the deciding factor. I think, like you said, you look inside and things happen in life and they give you kind of the direction. So my direction at the moment is to focus on direct in design, leverage my agency as a tool to reach some of the goals I want. But I see the next 3 years being very busy. I have some pretty lofty goals, and we're way far away from them because we're still working out some of the smaller pieces before we can scale on a much more aggressive level. So
tell me a little bit about, and maybe I should leave the room while you answer, I don't know, but tell me tell me a little bit about what some of the things that as we've been working together that you've kind of picked up or you've learned or you've experienced. So if you were talking to other agency owners that were like you, what are some of the things in your experience with working with me and what we've done have helped out? I'm actually curious. I'm asking this of everybody these days.
So I think largely giving me that structure that I have a much more structured plan, but more than that, I would say, like, if you were doing a major renovation on a big building, you got to put the scaffolding up. You're my scaffolding. You're like, okay, like this is what you need to use to get this done. And there's, in any new relationship, there's always the positive and the negative, especially like when it comes to people's egos and their feeling. And I think sometimes you've pushed me and I've been like, oh, he's pushing me, I don't like this. Or I'm like, okay, well, I'm working on this. This is what we've talked about. And then you add something else and I go, Tony, you're adding something else. But it's good because I need that drive to keep doing things to move to the next level. So yeah, structure and a positive nudge. You're always giving me like think about this. What about this? Here's an idea to explore. And but sometimes you also give me the room to say, you know what, at the moment I don't think I'm going to explore that one. I've checked it out, or I don't know that our revenue will sustain us investing in that area at the moment. So should we revisit that in the next quarter or something like that?
Well, and to your credit, you've also said, oh, if that's the output we're looking for from this thing, from this new system or new process or new step, because building an agency is like building a wall, different bricks go in there. You've been able to say, well, if that's what we're looking for, here's some things that we can try that are different from what you're suggesting, but get the same output. Because it fits more.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So, but that to me is, working together as partners How do you think our relationship is different than what is also available out there? Because I know there's a ton of resources. There's books, and I read them too, you know?
Yeah.
There's peer groups, there's coaches, there's like, what do you think makes our relationship a little different?
I feel like we have similar philosophies about nurturing a process or a relationship. So when I was teaching years ago, one of the colleges would say, okay, you can choose your book and then you come in and, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, but anybody could read that book. Like, how can I take information out of this book and create a journey or a process? And I feel like that's what you do with our engagement. You create processes and a journey. And I think we have enough similar philosophies that we can work well together, or values, or kind of like the foundation of who we are. And I've done some coaching stuff in the past, and your approach is very personal, and we have enough one-on-one time that I feel like that's of great value to me. Whereas other coaching programs I've had, there's been a lot of upfront sale, like, this is what we're going to achieve. Let's look at your business and we'll do these things. And then you're in a room with other entrepreneurs that are all trying to do these things, but they're all at different stages. So you're addressing stuff that maybe you already did, or you're addressing stuff that you don't need to address until 2 years from now. And so it's just like, well, half of this time is wasted, but I still have to invest in it. I don't think that we have much wasted time. In fact, I don't think we have any wasted time. I think sometimes we don't have enough time. So, no, I think it's been a very positive decision, and has had very positive outcomes for me personally and for my agency.
One of the things I've always said was, we don't have to go out and do this with a ton of companies right now to be successful. My whole mission is a fulfilled founder. And what does that really mean? Well, that's why we talk about, well, where is it that there's you and then there's your agency asset, and they're two separate things. So I feel lucky to be able to work with you, because I think you intrinsically understood that, or understand that your agency is a separate asset that has its own earning power, capability. Yeah, you work for it, you steward it, but you're one of those people who understand that. And so it's been really easy to communicate, okay, this is what we're trying to do for the agency. Here's where it's at. Here's the things we're trying to build onto it. And you also are a action first kind of guy. I know you think and have a lot of ideas, but once you grab onto an idea, you go do it. You go actually do it. That's the other part of it that made me think, okay, this guy has potential. So, really appreciate all that we're doing, and we've got some cool things ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I love it. I love the journey. Some days are frustrating because there's a lot going on. But when I have those frustrated moments, I look at what we have achieved. Every day there's something that I'm achieving. And it seems, when you look at things and you look far ahead, it seems a little bit overwhelming, but every day I'm achieving something. Every day we've done something, and made a lot of progress. So there's all sorts of KPIs you can measure, and we're hitting a lot of them. And of course you're going to miss some, but that's the purpose of them.
Well, when we first started, it was like, well, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? Yeah. And you were like, well, I don't know. That's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Sort of like the embarrassing moment. Oh, we need to do that. Oh yeah, we're not doing that.
So it's interesting because you talk about embarrassing moments, and it is, I've gone through this. I still go through this, where you're like I put out the book and I had a guy review it, and he's like, oh, well, here's the 10 things you didn't do that you need to go do for, people who are serious about putting out books. And there is that moment where you're like, oh, I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't catch that. And he's like, well, how would you know? You've never written a book before, you know? And so bringing people into our lives that have done the things that we're trying to do and be like, tug on their, you know, coattail and go, excuse me, how did you do it? That's the other thing too, is they've done it this way. You know, like my dad used to say, you want what I have, do what I did, you know, which to some extent can work, but then you got to kind of make it your own. Or at least I think you do. Although when you're first learning, you just kind of blindly follow. And then after a while, you make it your own. Maybe that's the way to say it. But no, I really like the way that you are taking each challenge on, and you just go do it and try it. And some things work, some things don't. Your agency's at a stage where that's part of what we got to figure out, you know? But numbers wise, it's funny because we're, you know, from a financial standpoint, you're better off than you've ever been, which is great. And now, like, the whole idea, I tell this all the time. So the process we've gone through where it's like, hey, let's go make this net income, take that net income, bank it, because you're going to need some of it later. You know, it's not just for emergency funds, you know, like the standard. What's the standard? 3 months of operating cash in the bank. Well, in reality, what you have to do is take some of that and go, oh, well, now we can invest in this next marketing campaign, or we can like talk to people about that process we went through.
Yeah. So as I realized I was in every seat of the bus, and the only way to move into a different position, remove myself from being everything of the agency, I had to then see, well, systems, processes, people, like, where do I invest today? How much capital, how much money have we got today? And of course, when you start making these decisions, you might not have a lot. So where do you place that? So you're absolutely right that we've built a safety net, and now I'm looking at, well, okay, what could I use some of that for? Like, what is the best way to use some of that? And when we last spoke, I said I got busier and busier and busier and busier, and then I leveraged these talents, and now I've got these people in these seats, and now I'm not quite as busy. So what should I do with that gap time, which is great? But sometimes the figuring out bit's overwhelming for me. I'm like, oh, what should I be doing? I should be doing something. But no, I think we're in a great place because I do have the extra resources now to say, okay, well, we really need to focus on outreach, or we really need to focus on marketing, or we really need to invest in a different approach to our systems. So I think we're very fortunate, but there's always a lot to decide and a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that same process we're going to go through multiple times, only it'll just be bigger numbers the next time we do it. And sometimes the bigger numbers scare people. Now, they wouldn't use the word scared, but it's kind of like the first time you sold your biggest deal. You know, there's a little bit of your heart is up, like, I'm going to ask for this much money. I've never asked for this much money before to do this thing. It's the same when you're making business decisions, I've found. And really, it's the same decision over and over again. It's like, we have more clients, we have more capital, we have more people. Now but we also have more savings that we need to invest in larger, more capable systems. Okay, so I can't go a conversation without talking about AI. So I'm going to end on that. So as you look in the future, as you're experiencing it, what's your, you know, like everybody has their, like, is it doomsday? Is it like, are we I think I have a beat on what's going on, but I want your opinion on it.
I hear you hear both sides of the story with regards, like you said, doomsday, or is AI taking over everything. I feel like with anything new like this, there's kind of an adoption, and there's lots of mistakes, and we're seeing that because we can see that customer service is breaking down, some processes are breaking down, and it's only going to be so long before people are like, I just really hate this. I'm really pissed off with this. I need to still interact with people. So I see AI as really, really powerful tools that should enable people to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the problem, and there's some things obviously that absolutely can be automated, but there's a lot of interaction in the world still that requires a person. And I think that massive companies that are really investing big in AI are going to see that. They're going to see how much can we push utilizing AI for these systems and processes, and how much pushback do we get? Like, does this work for our customer? Because they'll lose customers. They'll start to lose customers.
Well, just think about all the emails you get every day, all the messages you get every day, and you can tell that it's AI because it knows it knows too much about you.
Yeah.
Like the good old days when someone called and said, "Hey, I looked you up on the internet and you look like someone we could work. This is what we do."
Yeah.
Well, now you don't even answer your phone. Most of your emails go answered. This is me I'm talking about. Most of my emails go unanswered. I've got AI sifting through my emails, and it tells me what I need to pay attention to and what I don't. I've got a summary that I get, and I say, "Oh yeah, reply to that one." So you have like the situation where AI is talking to AI. But you still have to have someone in the loop. I talked to a woman yesterday. She runs an agency, 540 Strategies, and she's like, "Hey, the human connection, the human relationship, the soft skills are going to be the commodity that people appreciate." Like, remember they used to call it old world craftsmanship? We talked about, you can build a table and a set of chairs and it's just handcrafted maybe is the right way to think about it. Handcrafted material. People long for that. Well, her theory or her thought is that's how human relationships are going to be. They're going to be thought of as handcrafted and revered and appreciated, and those who are good at it are masters in the craft. Yeah. Versus like what my teenage son is saying is like, "Dad, that's AI slop. Like, don't even pay attention to, like, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Well, and there's the challenge with relationships and communication isn't just to do with how AI is going to take over from a lot of human interaction. It's that when I look at my son, he's a millennial, your son's younger, their relationship and their social skills are very different than ours were. And so their approach to communication and connection is very different than our approach was. So they might be more geared to an AI world. We were not, as AI for communication for us is like, no, we don't want to talk to AI, but they seem much more removed from those deep connections. And so this goes into what the word normal means. I don't think that the word normal necessarily means good. It's really all perspective. So their world of normal is going to be very different than our world of normal.
Interesting. Well, they're coming into the workforce. I don't think as many of them. Interesting. We'll see. I don't have a doomsday thing. this happened when the CRM came in, the customer relationship management software came in, it's supposed to change the world, new tech.
Yeah.
But you still had to have experts that knew what they were doing to put it all together.
Definitely there's going to be some systems that break. So there's rules of systems. One of the rules of systems, I believe, is something like a system is created and will change to a point until it breaks. So societally, we have all these systems, and I'll use education as an example. I feel like the education system is going to be really struggling with what AI can do, in terms of that anybody nowadays can learn whatever they want within reasonable boundaries. I mean, you can't become a doctor without going to school, but there's lots of things that you can learn using free resources. So it's a very interesting time for sure. We'll see what happens.
Well, certainly your focus on building systems, that kind of capability for clients is now more readily available, and systems thinking, which is fun to think about in terms of the future, having that. Because let's face it, you're in the agency game to build something that is an asset for you. Your clients are, in business because first of all, they've found something they're good at and can do that people will pay them money for and invest in money for because there's a need or a desire, and they're good at delivering it. And what you're doing is helping them get better at that. When it comes down to it, this is how the economy works. And I just love it when entrepreneurs live life without nets, because it means they're betting on themselves. And I think when we bet on ourselves and we go after it, that is really kind of one of the highest callings we get. It's like I'm put here and I'm betting on myself with all my information, my knowledge, my skills, my relationships, everything that I've got. I'm betting on myself. And that's what having a business is like. And that's what having an agency is like. So I think as long as people continue to bet on themselves, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think for me with AI, I'm really excited about it, but I'm excited about it for those reasons that you just stated. I do believe in myself. I believe in my capabilities to learn things and to apply them. And it doesn't matter what it is, when it was the invention of the internet or smartphones, like how many people do you know that know everything that they can do with web platforms and web systems? Like probably nobody. And how many people do you know that know everything about their smartphone? Now, those aren't new things. And now we've got AI. So people can't keep up, and they pay for the convenience of having somebody that knows what they can do with that thing.
And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing for your clients with directing design clients is, and I think that's part of where the name came from, right? Directing design. You design things. Maybe.
Yes.
Stretch.
No, it was funny. There was two things. So one was back when I started the company, graphic design and print design was very, very heavy. So we really were a design boutique. I was really doing a lot of logos, brochures, stuff like that. I wasn't doing as much web stuff because in 2000 web was still relatively early. And then it evolved to do whatever the market demanded. But also, this is one of those funny things. It was what domains were available.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I didn't have AI to help me brainstorm what names I should choose. I just came up with a couple of ideas, and then I started searching. I think it was Network Solutions at the time. I was like, let me see what domains are actually available, and that one was. So
yeah,
here it is.
Well, Michael, it's always a great time talking with you. And I love working with you. And, here's to a bright future. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thank you very much. It's been a fun conversation.